Robbing Peter to pay Paul?
No, I don't think that taxation is necessarily theft in many circumstances. I think
so
it can be theft.
What makes it theft in your description, but not in others?
In which description?
So you just said it's obviously theft to rob Peter to pay Paul.
In this video, Andrew Wilson and Dave Smith go head-to-head on the Crucible. This clip shows Andrew Wilson and Dave Smith debating the topic of taxes and government spending. With that, let's watch Andrew Wilson, as he's prone to do, annihilate Dave Smith.
Always either form a government or make moves to subvert a government because it's in their best interest to monopolize force. It's in their best interest to do it, just like it's in our best interest as Christians to monopolize the force apparatus of the state as well. If you want to scale back aspects of the state, fuck, great. I want to scale back aspects of the state too.
Well,
but that really
ultimately
has nothing to do.
What aspects do you want to scale back?
Oh, I'd like to scale back, especially social spending when it comes to social safety nets. I'd like to scale back a lot.
Why would you want to? I'm just curious. I don't mean to interrupt you, but so why do you want to scale back social aspects of the state?
Because I think that many of those social aspects are violations of ethical concerns. So an ethical concern of robbing Peter to pay Paul, various things like this, I think that those are unethical. Those are ethics concerns.
Okay, and why? Why is that unethical?
It's unethical because I follow Christian ethics, and under this particular ethical framework, we would say that this type of theft would be incorrect, and that the state apparatus, it's not really their concern to move into that. That would be charitable organizations which would move into doing distribution that way.
I'm so curious about this, so I just have to ask because you kind of like grilled me before about what my ethics are. So what is it? So
we share the same. We share the same ethics. So I don't know what your argument is.
I'm not making an argument. I'm asking a question. So robbing Peter to pay Paul, why is that unethical? What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm saying that if you have centralized relocation from the successful to the non-successful, the reason that this becomes an ethical concern is because you're engaging in theft, obvious theft.
Okay, but isn't that always what government does by its nature?
No.
I don't really have any problems with Dave Smith, but dude, Dave, why is this concept so difficult for you to understand? He's simply saying there's an ethical concern of taking money out of one person's pocket and putting it in another person's pocket. And he uses the phrase robbing Peter to pay Paul. Robbing is literally in the phrase. Robbing, stealing. I'm no biblical expert, but I think thou shalt not steal is one of the 10 commandments. Andrew's just arguing it's not the state's job to do that. I don't really know what is so difficult to understand, but anyway, let's hear more.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul?
No, I don't think that taxation is necessarily theft in many circumstances. I think it can be theft.
What makes it theft in your description, but not in others?
In which description?
So you just said it's obviously theft to rob Peter to pay Paul. So what made that theft and what makes it not theft in other situations?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding the question correctly. Can you give me an example?
You just said in your example that this was robbing Peter to pay Paul and it's theft. Yeah. So what makes it theft in that situation, but not theft in other situations?
Like what other situation are you talking about? Dude, I just need a comparison real quick so I understand what you're asking.
What makes it in any other situation that government takes money from people not theft, but in the one you just labeled theft?
You mean, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying, why is it theft to take a bunch of money out of a rich guy's account and give it to a guy, who's just poor? Because you want to, versus some other unique situation like infrastructure spending or things like this.
What you just said, Andrew. Stop buying time, man. I'm just curious.
I'm not trying to buy time. I just want to get it clarified. I just want it clarified. I don't think that infrastructure spending is theft. I don't.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
I don't think that taxation, property taxation even is theft. I don't think those things are theft. I think that a direct taking of your account for the purposes of giving it to a social group based on immutable characteristics is theft. That would be theft.
I'm just curious. What makes that theft?
That you're taking a thing which does not belong to you and creating a distribution of the thing which doesn't belong to you.
But so why wouldn't that be true for property taxes?
Because you don't actually own the property.
Right. So, but you just said if they're taking something that doesn't belong to you. So, do you actually own that property?
No, this is why I'm saying that the construction,
So why was that theft?
the construction of ownership is just that, a construction.
Yeah,
So
but
property
Andrew,
is a
hold on,
construction.
Andrew. I think I have you in something here, and I think you know I do. Why was it?
No,
theft
I just
in your
want to make
example?
sure I'm
Why was
clarifying it.
Why was it theft in your example? Why did you own it in your example but not in mine?
Because I don't really understand your example. That's why I'm trying to get it clarified.
It wasn't mine. It was yours. I'm saying
Yes,
in
the
your
example
you
of
called it
scaling
theft.
back to rob Peter to pay Paul, I would say that is theft. However,
Why?
taxation for property, I would not say it is, because
when
it's
you're
based.
robbing Peter to
Because
pay
it's
Paul,
based-
why is it theft?
Yeah, because it's based around the construction which we have for theft or non-theft for property. That's the point.
If I may, if I could try
All
to
right.
clarify, I'm not trying to make anyone's argument.
Yeah. Just clarify what he's
I
talking
think
about.
This is what's going on. Dave's saying, like, look, if under your theory, all taxation would be theft because it's taking away from a person and giving to someone else. You
Okay.
seem to be saying it's not theft if it's giving to sort of a public good. So, like property tax to pay for roads, that's
I 100% think Andrew is correct, and I understand what he's saying. But now I don't know why it's so difficult for him to understand what Dave's asking. Like, 2/3 of this video is them asking one another to clarify. But Dave keeps saying, I think I got you. What do you got? You don't got him on anything. It's just, I don't know why, but you don't understand what you're talking about. Anyway, I think this host is about to dive into what I'm going to say and try to clear this up. My understanding, what Andrew's saying is, it's not the government's job. It's more like a charity's job or a church to take money from one person's pocket and put it into another person's pocket. Other taxes are not theft because if they're paying for something that we all use, police, fire department, roads, infrastructure, then that's for the good of society as opposed to just another person. Bottom line, Andrew's saying it's not the state's job to take money from one person and give it to another person just because one has more and one has less. I get what he's saying, that it'll take me a while to process where I stand on his premise, but I completely understand it. And I'm probably leaning towards agreeing with him because there are charitable organizations, churches, where people voluntarily give their money to help those less fortunate. So I completely understand his point. Let's see if the host helps us clarify what I'm trying to articulate and what apparently these two can't understand.
it's not theft. But property tax, presumably you would say this property tax to pay for welfare for single mothers, that would be theft, or to pay for LGBT issues or something like that. So he's saying, why isn't the property tax always theft? And you seem to be saying it's only theft if that money is given to particular entities. He's asking why that's the case.
Oh, based on immutable versus non-immutable. So if you are utilizing infrastructure and things like this, and you're paying for that infrastructure, you have local levies which are gone through and voted on for that infrastructure. That can't be theft because essentially the majority of your population is volunteering to move that money into the government coffers for that purpose. Whereas there is no such thing as voluntarism when it comes to the government levying your account. That's not voluntary and never has been. However, you have what's called, I'm going to explain. You have what's called duties, right? Duties. Duties can trump theft. For instance, you could say if you own yourself and the government conscripts.
Okay, there. I think they summed it up there. Voluntarily putting your money towards something versus non-voluntary, or said another way, voting on being taxed for everyone's money to go towards something like infrastructure versus people having no say in being taxed for money to go to other individuals. I think that's a pretty good summary. Yeah, I mean, the question they're debating is that theft or not? Taxes in general are not theft if they're voted on. But yeah, if you're forced to take money out of your paycheck to give to someone else simply because they have less than you, it sounds cold, but Yeah, I understand his point that it's theft. Again, I need to think about it a lot longer to come down to a concrete position on it. But I understand what he's saying. And yeah, I mean, I think by definition it's theft. But we want to hear from you. What do you guys think about this? Is taxation theft? Or like they're discussing, are there certain parts of taxation that are theft? Let us know what you think. Anyway, that's it for this video. As always, we really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.